Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Tessa, I work for Clover DX and I'm going to be facilitating the webinar. So presenting today, we've got Pavel Shvets, our solutions engineer here at Clover DX. And today we're going to be looking at why automation is better than Excel data manipulation. And in this webinar, Pavel's going to explore how introducing automation can eliminate errors, speed up business processes, and greatly reduce costs. So before we get started, I just got a couple of housekeeping notes to share. If you have questions, please post them in the Q&A box. Please avoid the chat. We'll serve those for any technical audio issues. So yeah, all questions in the Q&A box, please. We're also going to be sharing the recording and the slides after the webinar, so you should receive those via email later on today. That's it from me, so I'm going to hand over to Pavel.
All right, thank you, Tessa, for the introduction. So as promised, today we will cover an Excel data manipulation, how to do it better, but we will not limit ourselves only in Excel. So I would like to show you actually is how you can automate not only files, but maybe other processes as well. What we're going to talk about is how to identify a process which can be automated and which barriers you may come across with this kind of mindset shifting into the automation. So, first off, what is automation? I took the liberty of, looking up the automation definition from an International Society of Automation website. But basically, what it says: let machine do the work for you whenever appropriate. So there are a couple of scenarios. We will mostly focus on the one where you have a human labor, like yourself manipulating data, so they are compatible between source systems or target systems. Or if you do something mundane like every day, it's annoying and painful and you want to not take care of it. So let's focus on these scenarios. And those are the ones which people we talk to usually understand the most. The other ones, as we understand them, and those are the ones on the right-hand side of this slide, are basically completely unattended, running without any interaction, without any notion or any human labor at all. So for today, let's focus how automation can help yourself running your day-to-day work. So what are the benefits of automation? It's usually an assistance of labor-intensive task. So it's been here for a while, 15th century, I believe, that was the Industrial Revolution, where machines were actually replacing human labor. And same thing it is in computer world. Computers are here to help us, so why not let them? Automation will improve repeatability of your process and usually even precision. It's very simple to overlook some typos. Machine usually does not overlook them and make you aware of them. Also, typos can cause all sorts of problems with maybe decimal numbers, decimal points. If you are off scale, like 1 or 2 decimal numbers, it can have a huge impact afterward. And automation also allows you to have predictable scaling, meaning it's very simple to buy a new hardware and not so simple to hire a new person to do a task which could be automated. So if you've ever found yourself exporting and importing data just to overcome the lack of bulk update feature in the software you are using day to day or frequently, then this webinar is really for you. If, as a friend of mine is collecting files from all sorts of places to somehow combine them, clean them, and maybe publish afterwards to somebody, or again, import into some sort of system, again, perfect place. If you're struggling with regular tools, meaning, as an example, you have an Excel spreadsheet, and that Excel spreadsheet has hundreds of megabytes and a lot of data in it. Sometimes it can take a while till the file is even open. Automated tools, or these tools without like a human interface, let's say, could read these files a bit more efficiently and do the bulk updates or searches or things like that a bit more in a bit more straightforward way. If you are manipulating, if it's the case of like vice versa, not like a lot of or some or couple of big files, but a lot of small files which you need to combine together, it's also quite time and maybe labor intensive when you try to do that. Or if you're doing really mind-numbing repetitive data task inside something, maybe quality checking for your data if somebody didn't do a typo before you upload it. Again, this webinar is really for you. Or if you find yourself in a situation where you either need to manipulate text over and over again, maybe a couple of times a day, or just one time a week, but every week, you may find this webinar useful, and you may also consider automation as a solution to make yourself more efficient in your job or in your company. If you are using email client file browser, FTP for data exchange, again, this can be very easily automated. If you're using any sort of database as a data source, that could be automated as well. If you face a lot of unpredictable or unreliable data, and that results in inconsistent outcomes, then again, automation could be a help. When you have a data quality or data prep step in larger process, which is usually where you do these file-based, maybe spreadsheet manipulations, it's inside of larger process because you need those data to perform a task. That could be analysis, that could be, as we will see later on in use cases, could be for building pay stubs or calculating pay stubs. Or, and that's usually the case, or actually 95%, I would say, the case where the data prep takes longer than the task itself, like calculating pay stub. And if you find yourself using excessively techniques like copy and paste, drag and drop, maybe point and click, then automation could be a way out of it as well. So manual solutions, how they usually start, or what are the caveats of those? So usually they start as one-offs. Somebody comes to you and asks, okay, so I would like to know this information. And then it will become periodical because you did too good of a job, and that one-off becomes like every day or every week matter, which takes up your time, and really along the way it becomes unmanageable. Or makeshift solutions. It's good for now. We know we need some automated solution, but it's good for now because we don't really want to invest. And this way, these very easily convert into something. It's always been done this way, so let's keep doing it because it's nothing wrong with it, except being inefficient, except having a lot of problems like data quality problems, making maybe some problems downstream, even the things which you may not be aware of. So it's a very good idea, especially with these makeshift solutions, to consider automation. Well, over time, what happens as data grows, data volumes grow, it's more and more labor intensive to actually do the things which prepares those data, and not too much for innovation. And once you get to this point, it's very hard to innovate, because all your resources are focused specifically on your day-to-day jobs, on your goals, or whatever you are doing with your data. So in time, it actually becomes very, very difficult to move. So a lot of what I come across from my conversations, manual processes, especially over time, again, they start to be perceived as impossible to automate. In most cases, it's not true. They are possible to automate. Maybe sometimes you need to think out of the box and create a automated solution which actually kind of mimics the manual process, but it's automatable. Also, what sometimes it's not caught in time is the linear increase in data volume. Could be you onboard 3 clients, and somebody may expect that when you onboard 4th client, it's essentially the same work, same job, but usually not the case. Usually it doubles or triples complexity, because you need to take care of all the previous data. You need to treat it. You need to find if you have any duplicates in your data, and this way it exhausts your resources. You need to hire more people or get something going so you can actually work as you are required to do. So why would people keep status quo? Usually, it's because of these 5 reasons. And later on in this presentation, what I will do, I will basically point out why those reasons are not good enough to not to innovate or not to automate. So sometimes you may find yourself in a unique situation where people think that no software will fit the purpose. Okay, fine. But the problem is everybody has a unique situation. Everybody has different deployments, different skill sets in their companies. They have a different software in place, different configuration in place. So every situation is unique, which is making that situation not unique. Or you already have a working solution. You have manual solution which works, is inefficient, but works. Yeah, it's usually road to some unhappy place. One of the actually quite good reasons is somebody thinks that you are just trading one resource for another. So you have domain expert which treats the data, could be you, could be your colleague or somebody else, for an IT resource, which basically domain expert will tell IT to do, IT will implement and deploy into production so it can be automated. This is true to a degree. There usually is some IT involvement, but it's not as much as the domain experts' involvement. Can't spend months developing a solution. Well, yeah, true, But usually the shorter time it takes to develop a solution, the more time it actually saves. And the sooner you have solution, the better. Again, I'll talk about it later in this slide deck. Or you don't have the technical staff at all. Again, it's something which might be considered, but certainly is not the reason not to automate. So let's take these 5 reasons and let me outline it on successful automation projects we had in the past and maybe I've talked about with my friends. So let's take a closer look on unique circumstances. A while back, we had a client in Asia, and they are a logistics company who advertise a next day deliveries. But the problem is in Asia, the address validation is kind of tricky because not a single service can cover area of this size. Plus, these addresses are usually not as accurate as they could be. So what they did, they had an Excel spreadsheet with addresses they need to deliver, and a team of 30 people to manually check those addresses, create geocoordinates, cleanse the addresses if there are some I don't know, typos, or they added geocoding, etc., etc. So in time, when data volume grew, they could not extend the team at all. So they considered automation as one of the options. And we provided a quite successful POC, which basically utilized 3 quite widely used geocoding services. Those were Here Maps, Google Maps, and Baidu. And basically, the automation solved 90% of cases pretty much immediately. So those 10% of cases were easily managed, or are easily managed by 5 people. So 30 workers got basically downsized into 5, which saved time, it saved quite a bit of money, and those 25 workers could be dedicated to some other part of organization. Another one, which is one of my favorites actually, is a company who provided, or is a retail reseller of parts. And they have their suppliers, but suppliers with their price lists do not include, usually or typically do not include some quite important information. And this information needs to be looked up on their websites, various websites. So to add it into their catalog, they actually needed to go manually, site by site, search by SKU number, and add it manually into an Excel spreadsheet, which then was imported into their own ERP system. This was a project basically in very early stages, but the pilot went so well, they knew they need to continue with it, but also knew that they can't really keep the team as it is and on ongoing basis, because the entire product team was dedicated just to search through these SKU numbers and adding it into an Excel spreadsheet. So what we did, we built a very simple tool, which basically went to the supplier's website, downloaded necessary information, and automatically enhanced and reformatted the import Excel spreadsheets. So basically the import took from weeks, maybe a couple of minutes or hours. So there is a working solution. Yeah, of course, there's always a solution, but how efficient it really is and how much your time or money is spent for this. So what if your primary employee who does this manual work gets sick or is away for some reason or is on vacation? So what then with the process? Can it continue? Can it wait? Is there somebody else? What if that somebody else gets sick as well? With these Corona times, it's quite regular that somebody needs to be quarantined. So what then? Well, the reason, the solution is leave it to the automation. So again, 2 examples. I'll probably just cover one. So there's one use case. Actually, a friend of mine, she does a finance for her clients, and she was asking me, okay, so I do have this bunch of files, and what I need to do really is just to combine them into a single Excel spreadsheet, then assign our internal unique IDs so I can import it and check if there are no duplicities, if somebody didn't do like any spelling type of error, if somebody's information is not shifted by one cell, because that's something what happens usually when you have Excel spreadsheets. You copy paste from some place, and it's shifted by one cell, so you can't import it into wherever you need to have it. So the automation solution basically took all the Excel spreadsheets. It was, I think, 20 or 30, and combined them into a single one, highlighted the days when worker reported activity, but it was a public holiday or it was a weekend, and there's no paperwork which would suggest that particular worker needed to work those days. And then she unfortunately manually needed to get in touch with her clients to verify this information. But still, it saved a lot of work, a lot of effort, so she could, attend her children because she's currently on maternity leave. So trading of resources, we already covered it at the very beginning. So let me give you an example. So there was a data analytics company. So what they did was really they imported a insurance policies from vendors, and data were pivoted. Like you had in rows, you had a different attributes of policies, and in columns policies themselves. So sometimes happened that policies got amended by additional properties, and this had to be covered in this automated load or semi-automated load. For that purpose, there was a website where basically somebody just dropped the file, specified a couple of properties, and then the algorithm did the rest. So there was one-time investment from IT, and that investment basically enabled business to do what they're doing every day, to automate their data ingestion, which was otherwise solved by essentially going card by card in their database and populating database tables manually, which was not that great. Right, so trading of resources. Now, whenever there's an IT solution or some solution of any sort or improvement, what kind of improvement that is and how it can be quantified. Previously, I gave you a couple of examples. So the attendance and bonuses. So a friend of mine, she basically spent around 4 man-days to calculate those pay stubs. This solution basically saved her 2 days over the weekend, so she could, do stuff with her kids. So that was quite noticeable over a year. So basically, she saved almost a month in a year just by very simple script, which took maybe 3 man-days to build. The address validation company, which I was talking about, the solution took half a year, approximately, downsized teams, so saved money. Some resources could be reallocated to other departments, and the precision got a bit better. And most importantly, they could keep the next day delivery service available to pretty much any client portfolio. And then finally, the supplier website scanning company. That's something where I was more personally involved, and it took me maybe 2 evenings in the hotel lobby, just building a solution. And on average, it's basically saved man weeks a month. If you remember, it was the whole team who basically searched, copy and pasted things into Excel spreadsheet, which then could be imported. So the solution did this. It didn't take too long, and it saved, even in the very beginning stages, quite some effort. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have, or if you are willing to automate, the solution does not have to be perfect. You can start small. You just need to be aware of what may happen in the future, and basically prepare yourself, or prepare the solution for future adjustments or amendments to the overall process. Usually the biggest time savers are also kind of easy and quick to develop. So even though you have no technical resources in your company, or you are not technical yourself, it's not that much of a problem. It's a little bit of a problem, but usually it really doesn't matter too much, because there are tools currently on the market which will help you to do most of the automation. Remember the previous slide when I was talking about bulk of the automation can be done quite quickly. And there are tools currently on the market which will allow you to work very simply with most of files, most of systems, in graphical way, set up maybe some validation rules, so you are working with the data you expect to work with. Easy drag and drop interface, very visual, no problem. It's almost like working in really Excel spreadsheets or any sort of website. If you don't have time to do this, there are many consulting companies who specialize in building technical solutions for non-technical users. So you can have tailored solution, no problem. And sometimes it could be a problem, especially when you are in larger companies and there are some security restrictions. There has to be some legal done whenever you are purchasing new software, or even a simple thing as installation on your local laptop could be a problem where IT needs to be involved. But sometimes that's essentially where their responsibility basically ends, with installation of the software. The rest could be handled on a business level, in a business unit. So 2 examples which I could name for a change is HSBC, where Clover is used solely by business units. We have very little to do with IT, because IT only do maybe software upgrades, and they do maybe some audits or infrastructural changes or things like that. But they don't do the solutions themselves, and business is quite happy with it. Another example could be Ernst & Young. They do have analytics like field agents, if you will, who go to client side, they collect data, prepare data for later analysis, and ingest into their systems. And all of that is done without any IT involvement at all. And that's because Clover specifically is a very visual tool, but there are other tools on the market which you can utilize, no problem. Now, what you might be asking right now is, when's the right time to automate? Sometimes it's really better to do things manual at the very beginning. I'm not saying it's not, but the right time to automate, because you don't want to wait, you don't want to get to a point where all your resources are dedicated to that manual data prep and have no time or no capacity for automation or innovation for that matter. So when's the right time? I have a colleague who says, and I completely agree with him, when I need to do things once, then I'll just do it manually because it's simple, straightforward. Why not? If I need to do things twice, I really think about if I need to do it. And if I know I need to do things 3 times, I just automate it. So my advice would be, think about what you need to do and how often you'll be doing it and how much data do you actually have. And when things settle, when you know you have some time, think about automation. It's not as painful as it may sound. It's not that terrible. There's plenty of help you can get on the internet and plenty of tools to choose from. So, summary. So what we did today, we introduced automation and its role within a company. We learned how to recognize an automation opportunity. So if you remember, those were the ones where you need to use a text tool or spreadsheet editor or something like that to manipulate your data, where you need to frequently, move files around on your file system or things like that. Where labor-intensive tasks are coming from. So if you remember, that was the one-offs. Those were the makeshift solutions which enabled some action to be done, but it's still highly manual. And we talked about how to basically overcome those fears of innovation and automation to increase usually efficiency, speed of delivery, and reduce the team effort. And I'm certainly hoping I helped you answering the question if you should automate, if you are ready to do it. So right now, what I would like to do perhaps is move to Q&A, where I could, answer any of your questions, or if there's going to be too many questions, we'll get back to via email and answer them via email. All right, over to you, Tessa.
Thank you, Pavel. We're just waiting for some questions to come in. We'll give everyone a chance to pop them in the Q&A box. As I said that, we've got some. So our bottlenecks are having the human input, the data from their actions. Any suggestions?
So the question is, maybe in return, what kind of human input data is it? Because sometimes when you have people in a branch in a bank, they need to sit with the client, they need to enter the data. If your data are coming from a database, or if they are coming from some random system, it's usually quite straightforward, because those systems can store the data somewhere and they need to represent it, because otherwise they would be meaningless. So there's at least one way to access them. And as soon as you can exploit it, you don't have to wait for users to input it further on.
Thanks. So I think a follow-on from that question, Pavel, is from the employee meeting with clients.
Okay, so that would be probably a longer discussion, but from employee meetings. Okay, so that would be probably some free-form text. Usually in these terms, you'd be searching for some keywords from the meeting. So in this case, what you can probably do is use some sort of NLP software to basically analyze the bulk of text and look for keywords, and then have it inserted in some automated way.
Great, thank you. A few questions about presentation and slides. Don't worry, you're all going to receive the recording of this later today via email, even if you joined late, don't worry about that. Okay, next question. So someone has asked, maybe an example or a quick demo?
Actually, there's a standing demo session on Wednesday somewhere, I think morning, noonish. Yeah, I think so. Tessa, do you know when's the standing demo?
I was just about to jump in. So we run these every Wednesday weekly. So they're live product demos, so you can get an overview of Clover DX and see what it looks like. So what I'll do is post the link to that in the chat now, so you can go ahead and register for that if you wanted to see Clover in action. But as well as that, you can also have a one-to-one demo if you just fill in the demo form on our website. Yeah, we can get a solutions engineer to have a personal chat with you. Right, next question. I'm not familiar with Clover DX. Is this a Fortune 500 ETL tool?
It's not Fortune 500 ETL tool. I don't think it's even on a Gartner Magic Quadrant, but it's been for a while, around I think 17, 18 years now. So you know, you can find it quite easily, to be honest. Just searching for ETL tool.
Great. In your example, did you produce Excel spreadsheets for your clients?
Quite regularly. Excel spreadsheets are very commonly used around like business sort of people, and as such, they're used to work with Excel spreadsheets. So even when we produce some sort of CSV output, it's usually still being converted into an Excel spreadsheet for them to manipulate with. Hope that answers the question.
Great, we'll just wait for a few more questions to come in.
Actually, I have one thing which I don't know if I mentioned during the presentation. So there's a case study for the address validation, which you can find on cloverdx.com, as well as for HSBC use case, and I think some other examples I talked about.
Brilliant, thank you for that. I've got another question for you. I'm a veteran SSIS user and have also used Talent and Powerflow in Power BI, Microsoft's successor to SSIS. Do you have experience with these?
Well, I do have very limited experience with SSIS. Talent is very close to Clover. So whenever we have conversation around data manipulation, ETL processes, we usually talk to people also considering Talent. SSIS, in most cases, we do not compete with, more of a replace in most cases. Not familiar with Powerflow, to be honest, but quite frequently we talk to users of SSIS who do migrate to Microsoft Data Factory and consider other tools as well.
Thank you. The case study that Pavel was talking about, I'm going to post that in the chat here. So the data quality and address validation, if you wanted to have a look at that, it is in the chat now for you. Okay, next question. If I'm the subject expert and I see ways to improve process, but the IT department doesn't have time to explore the improvement, do I learn programming or do I wait until there's a better environment? I have about 10 years before retirement. Is there no money to hire anyone? There is no money to hire anyone.
Well, it's always challenging when you have no help, but yes, there's a couple of ways. As I said, some of the tools are tailor-made to be as user-friendly as possible. So I think I can name Alteryx, who focuses specifically on people using Excel spreadsheets, but it's more of an analytics tool than a data preparation tool.
Great, thank you. Again, just going to give you a couple of minutes to pop any questions in. Sorry for that.
Maybe to complete the answer. No, you don't have to necessarily wait for the beta environment. Probably, would be a good idea, but with some tools, you don't even have to learn programming. But it's very helpful to know at least, or to have like a technical background.
Okay, thanks. We had someone in here. I think this is the right pronunciation. Nime is the open source alternative to Alteryx, which is frightfully expensive. That's just someone's comment in there for you all.
Yeah, it really is. Alteryx is expensive, but I think they do have some limited licensing as well. But Nime is a good tool.
Cool. I don't think there are any questions, but if you could post them in now, then that'd be great. If not, then please feel free to email us at hello@cloverdx.com and we'll be happy to answer any further questions. I think that's pretty much it for today. Thank you all for attending, and thank you, Pavel, for hosting. We hope to see you either tomorrow or in our upcoming webinars. Thank you.
Okay. My pleasure. Bye-bye.